Hey, everybody, it's Tara McCullum here with Beyond This Reality. And I'm an artist, as you can see behind me, as well as a self development coach. I really help people unravel and untangle from all the um, negative patterns that are keeping them down. So they're creating exhaustion, overwhelm, and just not the life that they desire, so that they can emerge into a full color life where they're really having connection with the people that they love. They're increasing their circle of friends, having abundance, being productive, being creative, and really coming from the space of who they are so they have a fulfilling life. And I am doing a series right now. Sorry, it nose itches. That is called the question series, where people have sent me in questions and I am answering them in order to help open up possibilities for people and create way more ease and connection and fulfillment in their lives. So today's question comes from somebody online, and they asked, how do we bring this to kids? How do we show kids that they manifest or create their own lives? And how do we show them that it actually works? So here's the thing. It's not a theory, it's a reality. We are all creating our own lives. So the evidence of our manifestation is around us already. And we don't like to do this because, we don't like to compare. But the reality is, even if you're in a household and you've got, 3, 4, 5 people, there is evidence for each person as to how they move into things, what their belief patterns are, whether they're carrying unconscious beliefs that are sabotaging their life, or they're actually moving into the experience of what is possible and using everything that's coming to them to create. And so I would look at that. Maybe there's somebody who every day they wake up and they're just this space of joy and possibility. And I don't say positive because there's a generative authenticity with somebody who's not necessarily positive, who's sad or struggling or whatever else, and yet there's still the energy of what else is possible, right? To me, that's generative. That's different than positive. I have a really gross and yet telling analogy of the difference between generative and positive and negative. To me, positive and negative is like somebody seeing poop on the sidewalk, looking down and going, oh, wow, if I just believe enough, if I'm just positive enough, that will become chocolate, and then picking it up and chomping on it and going, this is so good, this is so good. Ugh. Positive and negative. This is my own interesting viewpoint, and that's how I experience it in my own body and how I experience with people. They're trying to turn something negative into something positive. Instead, I look at what can be generated out of it. I look down, and my awareness is it's poop. Okay, I don't try and make it anything else different than poop. If it is poop, because it is, how can I use that poop to create for me? Now, if I have a garden, poop is a fantastic fertilizer. So I can use this as a fertilizer, or I can actually scoop it up and, create a business, being a pooper scooper, or I can be that business and then sell the poop on to somebody who creates fertilizer. Or, I can be the fertilizer company where people bring me the poop and I just create the fertilizer. So that is generative. That's having an awareness and not putting rose-colored glasses on something and calling it wonderful unless I can actually generate with it. I still call poop, So same thing with how people are being in their life. Are they being authentic? Right? Because we can wake up in the morning and say, gosh, I'm so heavy, right? I'm heavy. I feel slow. I don't even know what to do today. I had plans. Yesterday, I had this. Yesterday, my day, I was so excited about different things that I was going to do. And I woke up and it was that is not possible. So I was okay, cool. That is not possible. what is possible? What would I like to create today? What is generative for me? Okay. Things like that. So again, going back to kids, really this isn't a video for whether you're a kid or an adult. Take the time right away to look at what you're creating already. Don't make this a rightness or a wrongness. This is not about making somebody wrong by, dissecting their life and going, look at, see, you created that there. So the greatest thing you could possibly do, especially with a kid, is to ask them to look at their life and where they asked for something to be created and it was, where they knew something was possible if they decided to put themselves fully in it, and then they made it possible. So it might be something in school where they're like, nobody else can do this, but I totally can. It's always great to bring them back to where their powerhouse is, not where they're not creating what they don't like, because we don't need to keep creating that. And if we analyze that, like how, oh my gosh, well, like I didn't ask for it that way, and like it just completely fell apart. Like you don't want it to show up that way. And so we're looking at when we ask for something that it shows up, and then how it shows up. Okay. So really having them look at the past and look at how they already are creating. Look at you might have somebody in your family who's amazing at just even unconsciously creating great relationships. They like more generative relationships? And then you can get into how are they creating those? Like, how do they show up? Manifestation is really all about how we embody things and how we show up. So many people are looking at manifestation as like how it shows up. It's really a direct reflection of how we show up. Are we open to it? Are we expecting it? Right? And gosh, isn't it crazy to expect something that nobody else thinks is possible? And yet, what if you're like, yeah, of course. Like, there are certain people who walk into every room and they change the atmosphere of the room, or people flock around them. Well, they have certain characteristics about them if people flock around them. Most likely, I'm just hazarding a guess here, are the people who are like that in my world. They're not highly judgmental. They're really open. They love to receive you, right? So they're not just there to be received, but they're receiving you. Like they give great eye contact. They bring this energy of possibility. Like they might bring more joy than you've ever experienced before. And they're willing to show up in all that light without apology. Okay. Not apologizing for how they show up. They're showing up in the fullness of themselves without regard to whether somebody else is going to give them permission or not. And then, same thing with other things. Like some people go into projects or they go into school projects and they're like, I've got this. And so they do. So how do you embody the energy of I've got this and I'm being me with everything you possibly do, right? And then you can also, like, if you want to look at the contrast, you can look at the people, like, your friends and the people who are always speaking of what might happen. Well, the things that they don't want to have happen. And they're actually embodying. So it's not just about what they're talking about, because I'm not saying that you can't ever talk about these things. I'm saying they start to embody what they don't want to have happen. They're almost willing it to happen. These people, right? These people. And so you can bring that to your kids. You can even bring that to yourself. In what aspects of your life are you not creating or manifesting what you actually desire to have happen? Because you're being the embodiment of what you don't want to have happen. You're actually oozing and seeping out and being a stink bomb, attracting to you only the stench of what you don't desire, because you're like so worried that it's going to happen. And it's something that you talk about, you think about, you like ruminate on all the time. If you're ruminating on something all the time, Ask somebody to come in and ask you what else is possible. Would you be willing to talk about what you dream to have happen? And then see, there's this really fun thing that you can do if you really desire things to be manifested. It's called future casting, or at least I call it future casting, where you go into the future and you look back and you talk about it as if it's already happened. So let's say you're looking to, do really great in a competition. And so you go back and you go like 2 days after it and you're like, oh my gosh, like the amazement as like I took that, I keep thinking pole vaulting, like I took that leap over the bar and I totally didn't hit the bar, and I did my greatest jump. I did the highest jump I've ever done before, and the exhilaration that I felt in my body and the way that the crowd responded to me. And, it was so amazing as I walked away with, the award. And you're future casting because you're saying it as if it's already happened. And then what happens is when you go into that meet, your body is already ready to be the one who's like, and you look at like all the actions that you took up to that point, the ways that you built up your body, the ways that you fueled your body. And so you talk about those things so that you're able to perform on that day in the way that you already know that you're going to, because you future casted it. Now, future casting doesn't give you the scapegoat not to prepare, because life is not about the destination. So people are like destination addicted rather than like addicted to the journey. I mean, the journey is every single day. And are you willing to choose things that require a journey that you totally love? So if you want to win awards in a certain sport, or if your child is like an amazing singer and they want to be a part of like a choir that sings all over the world, like, do they enjoy the journey of like singing at home, preparing, like, is the journey worth the destination? It's a great question for anything that you're actually asking. And a lot of times I look at this even with marriage, and I know this is about kids, but whatever it is, like people prepare for the wedding like crazy. Well, that is like one tiny, very thin layer of being married to somebody. It's the marriage afterwards. If you can't look past the wedding and desire to be on the journey and can't wait to be on the journey with the person, the effort that you put into the wedding is useless, right? Because it's just like this tiny thin layer that is you're going to be left feeling flat after the wedding if the journey of being married to that person isn't completely what you're going for. And so all of us, like, are we addicted to the destination? Are we addicted to the jackpot? Or are we addicted to creating money? Like, so that's another thing. Like, even with kids at a really young age, are they willing to choose things that it's fun to create wealth? Are they willing to choose things that are fun to create, like, a painting or, something that they do in school? Like, are they enjoying the journey of that creation? And so I would say that, like, are you guys talking to your kids about the journey? Are you talking to them about really enjoying the process of being a creator? And then in that enjoyment, in that embodiment, in that effort, in that productivity will be born the manifestation or the end product that will keep on going, like we keep on going. So let me know if this answers your questions. That's really just the beginning of the conversation about manifestation. It's something that we're constantly in the invitation to. And there is a part of it that is also about releasing the ways that other people do it, that might look amazing, but they actually don't work for us. That is really a whole nother video. So Keep the questions coming. If you have any further questions, please reach out to me at tara.mccullum@gmail.com. And there's my alarm to go pick up my kids. Enjoy your day. Bye, you guys.